welcome everyone for our December general membership meeting. It's a great opportunity to come together. I see we have a nice little crowd here up in Sacramento, so thank you all for coming up here to Sacramento to be with us. It's a great opportunity to network and connect with folks. We have folks from our state leaders, our partners in offices that are here with us as well, so it's a great opportunity. For those of you joining virtually, highly recommend you come up and be with us in person if you can manage that. But we do offer this virtual opportunity for you to participate virtually. So with that, reminding folks that you are muted if you're here virtually, but we do want to hear your questions. We'll have folks monitoring the chat box. So if you have a question, please throw it out there. We'll try to answer as many of those questions as we possibly can as we go through this presentation. So we'll go ahead and get started. So, oh, and by the way, if you're a first-time attendee, throw your name out there. Let us know who you are and where you're coming from, because we do want to recognize you as being a first-time attendee to one of our meetings here. So we have a cash network mixer opportunity. So to get together as a community and as an industry, this will be this coming Saturday, December the 7th at 5 o'clock at the Grand Long Beach. So we'd love to see you there. It'll be a great opportunity to come together, celebrate the passage of Prop 2 and celebrate the work that we're doing in our industry. Also, we have a training opportunity coming up, a web shop. So Thursday, December the 12th, 2024, we have a web shop planned. It's really focusing in on Prop 2. So it's Prop 2 passed. Now what? Right? We're going to talk about the opportunities and challenges that are associated with that. And this will be the first in a multi-part web shop series where we're going to be talking about how to begin to leverage and work with a local bond or the state bond to be able to leverage those dollars for your district and to ensure that you're getting your fair share of that work of those dollars. So before we get started, though, I did want to take a minute and really recognize and celebrate the impending passage of Prop 2. So many folks up and down the state were very involved in that, both in outreach events, in fundraising events, to be able to bring that together. And although the bond has not officially been certified yet, the numbers are looking remarkably well. And so we are definitely on the way to passing and getting that certified. So I know Rebecca and some of the team will be talking about that when they come up in just a moment. So with that, we'll move into our state agency updates. And I think we have John Gordon digitally with us or virtually with us. Hello, John. Welcome.
Oh, hello. Hello.
I'll let you take it from here.
Well, thank you. I apologize for not being in person today. I did have intentions, but the dentist called and my mouth is still half numb, but I think I can get through this update fairly easily, and I hope to be in person very, very soon. So just a couple things I have to share. I mentioned previously that I've changed certain staff assignments for certain counties. We just uploaded that. And I'll put the link into the chat of where the different county assignments are, because it does incorporate my newest field rep, Jennifer Morris, who's down there in the San Bernardino area. So I have two that are covering Southern California, Angel Dowdy, who's covering down there in Los Angeles and in Orange and San Diego, Imperial. And then Jennifer's covering the other areas down there. And I know that Haley Leguizamo is moving her a little further south. She's the Central Valley, so she'll also have Tulare, and also have some stuff in the East Bay. So if you're in Santa Clara, Alameda, those we're going to move those from Brian to George Garcia. So like I said, I'll put that up into the chat. Just make sure you want to get in touch with your field rep, whether it's existing or new. If you have any projects coming up, we want to be kept into the loop here. One other thing I've noticed, I've been looking at a couple different projects lately, and it's the impacts of the TK and the pre-K and full day kindergarten program have really seen on different projects how they're really impacting sites. In some cases, I'm seeing play areas that are now being removed because there's like a bank of classrooms. So with that, I just want to remind folks that sometimes when that happens and we're reviewing, if you're under 70% of what we recommend, then we're going to require a PE plan. If you're under 50%, then we're going to require a small school site worksheet that you need to fill out. You get allowances if you end up building up. But I say this, so that as you are planning future enrollments at your sites, you do want to be really careful and sensitive about um, if you have enough space. So with that, feel free to have those early conversations with your field rep. Let's look at enrollment numbers. Let's look at, how many acres you have for the site, so that you kind of understand where that site kind of lands in terms of how much growth can you do. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. And the last thing um, that I should probably bring up is that I've talked to a number of different folks. It looks like, SB 937, which was I think Senator Weiner passed a bill that's in the government code, and I think it kind of got away from most of us who didn't realize it was going to affect school districts, but it has to do with developer fees and the fact that that they're going to delay the payment of developer fees unless you submit a 5-year plan to CDE. One of the challenges with this legislation is that they refer to the LPP, which, as you know, is no longer in effect. And so this is something that is this quite unusual situation. And then we have an obsolete process here, and we are currently looking at it internally. I'm talking to my director, Juan Morales, and leadership about how do we move forward. And so when I have something to share, I'll definitely share it. I realize this law is going to go into effect here January 1, so we are working behind the scenes diligently to figure out how to go about it. So I will definitely have something on our website, on our What's New. When I have something updated, I'll make sure that we're relaying it all to the county office meetings as well as anyone else, so that we can get the word out. So with that, I'll take questions.
Yeah, I know as we look at questions, whether virtually or in person, I know, John, that is one that has a lot of us interested that are charging developer fees in our local area about how to move forward with essentially the implementation of a regulation that's now defunct, right?
Yes.
It's a very odd situation that we find ourselves in. So we'll be definitely looking towards CDE to provide some guidance in that area for all the districts essentially around the state that are charging developer fees.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that. And, I could tell you that we are really sensitive to all the wonderful and could be challenging things that are coming as a result of Prop 2. And I think any solutions moving forward, we definitely don't want to put any more burden on districts. We're going to see what we can do to figure out how to address this.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll again look to the room. I don't see anybody in the room that has any questions, and I don't see any online. So thank you, John. I appreciate your update, and hopefully your dentist appointment went well. And so yeah, we always love those appointments. But thank you, John. I appreciate all the support.
Happy holidays. Thanks.
Absolutely. Happy holidays. Yeah. So up next on our agenda, we'll move to our state architects. Oh, somebody's doing it for me. So state architects update. So we have Ida Claire here. So Ida, our state architect, is here with us today. So she'll give us an update of what's happening in the Division of State Architects. So welcome, Ida.
Thank you, Alan. Glad to be here today. I just sent a request to share my screen. So there we go. I think now I can do it. All righty. Okay. All right.
Yeah, there we go. We see it now.
Yeah. All right. So a little, well, except that it's not advancing. Hold on. This happens all the time. There we go. We've been busy here at DSA, as I tell you every month, obviously. Um, we've had a lot of work come in November and October, and December also looks to be quite busy. You can see we're a little bit balanced in all our offices, with Sacramento bearing the brunt of the work of this fiscal year in dollar value. It doesn't always mean that's the case in projects, but in this case, it is 366. Actually, I stand corrected. Oakland has the most in dollar value. Sacramento does have the most in projects. As of December, we're anticipating $1.3 billion in construction. That's on top of, as the previous slide noted, about $1 billion in November. This is not a code change year, so this keeps us busy. We are also looking at, for our calculations, approximately 42 billion in school construction coming in the next few years based on bonds that have passed this year in March, June, and November. So DSA anticipates that it will be busy for a while, and we do want to issue a note of caution that to be kind to us, because next year is also a code year. So we're going to be seeing a lot of projects coming in, and obviously we'll be seeing a lot of those projects come in near the end of next year in advance of the code change for the 2025 code, which takes effect January 1st, 2026. Excuse me. Just a reminder that we have had a change to our in-office back check. If you haven't yet experienced this change prior to November, clients were able to log into our computers and use our large monitors to make corrections on the fly at a back check appointment. Due to a security breach, we've had to stop this practice. And so we ask that you bring in your computers. If you need to make corrections in our offices, you can use our DGS guest Wi-Fi. Once the corrections are made, upload your documents to the box, and then we can download them to our computers to complete the back check. Our plan review consultants, which we likely will start utilizing soon, depending on workload, if it gets busy. We do have an alternate procedure for them. So if you are a consultant out there listening today, make sure that you check with the regional office on our alternate policy. Just a reminder, request for plan sets. DSA no longer issues plan sets directly to the public. We issue them to the school districts. The school districts need to request them from us. So any request for documents needs to go directly to the school district, who will request them from us. If you are a school district client, we do have two methods to request the authorization of who can request those documents, and also the documents that you requested. That's on our Contact Us webpage, and you will see these links. Just a little bit of reminder of new IRs, bulletins, procedures. Some of these have been issued in September and October. Most importantly, our new access forms, which are reasonable hardship forms, a new reasonable hardship procedure document, and a new form for request of technical invisibility. Also, due to demand, we've had a lot of inquiry on a back check procedure for design professionals. All our back check procedures were really geared towards DSA. This document is geared specifically towards the design professional. I've talked a lot about workforce and student housing. Just a reminder, these projects are both public housing and housing at a place of education. We do have some supportive documentation that's illustrated here to help you in the design for workforce housing. And then, of course, we are updating our PL 2401 to include both workforce and community college student housing. That should be issued soon, probably late this month or in January. Basically, the procedures are similar. While these projects are no longer under our jurisdiction, you can always elect to submit them to us as the jurisdictional entity. We will not reject community college student housing or workforce housing projects. And this policy also highlights some concerns about submitting to the local that you should be aware about. So we encourage you to read PL 2401 in its existing form. Even though it's addressed community college student housing, it is still applicable to workforce housing. We have issued Bulletin 2401, which clarifies California existing building code fire life safety provisions that became in effect July 1st, 2024. The state fire marshal had an error and did not accept section 301.3.2 work area compliance into the code. And so as a result, DSA is not enforcing 301.3.2. Basically, in the existing building code, we enforce 301.3.1 prescriptive compliance only, which is following the building code. Once the state fire marshal corrects their adoption of section 301.3.2 work area compliance, we will be able to clarify and issue this bulletin. But that won't be until they're correcting it in this code cycle. So it won't be until January 1st, 2026. New laws regarding classroom locks. This is contingent upon determination of appropriation by the state. This bulletin also indicates that DSA will not be checking for compliance to this law because we cannot enforce state law. We can only enforce building code. And the state fire marshal has not yet put this in the building code. However, if appropriations made or if you choose to apply the requirements of this law that was passed this year, which requires any door with an occupancy of 5 or more to install interior locks, we will ensure that it meets compliance with the building code if they're shown. All right, green schoolyards. We're coming up on January 1st, 2025, when new laws will become effect. One of them is the green schoolyards that was SB 1091 Menjivar. Just a reminder, so this bill basically says if your project is a project to improve school health by natural environments, that it limits path of travel improvements to 20% of the adjusted construction cost. It's important to understand that this cannot contain any improvements to any structures or new structures that are considered buildings, because that's an exclusion of the law. If you have any questions, please meet with us at a pre-application meeting. I will let you know that if you are receiving a grant from CAL FIRE and you meet the requirements of SB 1091, we are adopting these requirements early. We don't want you to wait. As you can see, we have a lot of work coming to us in 2025, and we know that there are deadlines tied to the CAL FIRE funding. So you can submit those at any time, and we will apply the 20% of adjusted construction cost, provided that CAL FIRE project does meet the requirements of the new law. All right, a little bit about project inspector program improvements. DSA has been really working hard on program improvements to the project inspector, testing certification, streamlining the process, trying to offer it in more areas, and also trying to utilize existing certifications that we have out there. So a lot of that analysis is still in process, but these are the improvements that we have made, including regulatory improvements that are going to be effective in the 2025 administrative code, which does become effect in February of 2025, because the California administrative code requirements, because they are administrative, actually take effect in 30 days and not a year later like the rest of the code requirements are. But I do want to highlight the project inspector availability list, which many clients aren't aware that we have one. This is updated every 2 weeks. I know that says updated 9/16, but you will see that updated, reflected. But we do have an active list. It's actually on the Apply and Maintain Project Inspector Certification page. You will see a drop-down menu for the project inspector availability list, and you can click on that list if you're looking for a project inspector for your project. This is also notice that we're wrapping up our 2024 triennial code adoption cycle. These are for provisions that will become in effect January 1st, 2026. And our final submittals have been presented to the Building Standards Commission. We're now waiting just for our commission adoption meetings. You can find the information on the 45-day and 15-day public comment periods. All comment periods right now are presently closed, and we are headed towards commission meetings. December 17th through 19th is the Calgreen and Plumbing, Electrical, Mechanical, and Energy commission meetings. And January 14th through 16th is the Access and Building, Fire, and Other Structural Design and Lateral Forces meetings. So we're excited to complete this code cycle and look forward, obviously, to the next beginning, which will be for the intervening code cycle for the 2025 code. Just a reminder that sustainability plan review does have a new checklist that is required to be submitted with each project and the drawings, and that DSA is here to support you in meeting Calgreen requirements through. So we ask that you, if you have questions, to ask for a pre-application meeting so that we can provide that greater support to you. And just a reminder about our sustainability education and outreach. We are rebuilding our sustainability team in DSA headquarters, do a little bit of retirements, but we're on our way. We have a new supervising architect for sustainability with Alicia Chavez. And of course, we have Tav and Paul, and our advertising right now for Tav, our senior mechanical, Paul, our senior electrical, and we are now advertising for a senior architect in sustainability at headquarters to address our sustainability policy moving forward. And just a reminder about our DSA Academy and the training offerings that we have, some which offer continuing education units for architects. And with that, I'm ready for questions, Alan.
Turn my mic back on. Great. Thank you, Ida. I appreciate that update. I did think we had maybe at least one question in the chat.
Yes, I think I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like to read it, or do you want me to read it?
Yeah. So DSA question, it says, if a district wants an electronic copy of the red and black DSA files, do they still ask DSA for the info? As a district consultant, I would ask for the district, how do I now have the district make the request?
So the only limitation, hi Emma, the only limitation we have are to plan sets. So any other documents that we may have in our files, you would go through the regular PRA process and it can ask DSA. And we can issue those to you. The only limitation we have are specifically on plan sets, drawings, any drawings that we have.
Got it. Yeah. Also, the district could designate an individual as an approved individual, correct? And then they would be subject to obtaining that information on behalf of the district?
Correct. We ask that the district identify 2 or 3 who can make those requests, and we send those directly to the district.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I don't see any other questions. I don't see any here in person. So thank you, Ida. I appreciate your update and again, continued partnership. So, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to everyone.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So now we'll move on in our agenda here. We'll move on to our update with OPSC. And I know we have Brian LePasque here in person with us today. So welcome, Brian, as he makes his way over here to the podium. Great. Welcome.
Good morning. It's good to be here. I don't know if everybody can see it, but there's a Christmas tree here behind me, and I think there's a package under there with 8.5 billion in it. Maybe we can open a little bit early. I think we have to wait till the 13th officially, but Prop 2 appears to have passed, so we're pleased to see that. It's going to be a very busy year. We're looking forward to that. And as you know, 8.5 billion coming back to the program. We've already been moving on the issues within it a lot. We've been meeting internally, kind of developing our priorities, and you'll see that reflected in today's item to the SAB. We'll see how they feel about it. and then we'll be proceeding with that. The way we plan to do that is we're going to have a lot of focus groups within our organization focusing on the different topics. We can't do them all at once, but we can handle lots of them at the same time. So those stakeholder meetings that are going to be beginning early next year are going to be chock full of very dense information. We're hoping to get it out to you as clearly as possible and get a lot of collaboration on how to move forward with it. There's some things we don't have much choice on, but there are a lot of aspects and details that we do have a lot of choice and flexibility. So I've been telling people just a few minutes ago, collaboration is the name of the game with this. We want to combine our forces and make the best rules we can. So really looking forward to seeing all of you out there. I don't know exactly what the format's going to be yet, but I would imagine kind of a mix. There are some advantages to having the hybrid where we had people in person and also online. So I would imagine something like that, but we're still trying to figure out the best approach for that. And we're also in the midst of hiring right now. We're bringing on 4 new analysts that's advertised right now. I think it closes in 1 more week. So if you know of anybody that's interested, that maybe has some experience in the program or an interest in what we do, you can send them my way or just look on our website and you can find the details on those openings. We might have some more coming up too, so we'll keep you posted on that. You probably saw we sent out a notification on November 7th that applications that are coming in right now before the election is certified are required to submit a board resolution that just acknowledges that the program is currently exhausted of funds. That will end as soon as the election is certified, which we anticipate to be on the 13th. So just another about 10 days of that, and that should end that requirement. But just to remember that if you're submitting anything between now and then, you'll need to have that resolution along with your application. We have a template on our website if you need that. Also, coming up pretty quickly here, part of Prop 2 provides an additional $600 million for charter school facilities. There was also some language in there that said we needed to open a 120-day filing round, 180 days after the election is certified. So next year, May 4th through October 30 or through August 31st, we'll have a charter school facility program filing round. If you have charter projects, I highly encourage you to submit them. I don't think there'll be any money left after that round. There is a history of that program being oversubscribed by many times over. So do the best you can to get your application in. There are preliminary apportionments available, like you might know or might not know. So you don't have to have a fully developed plan necessarily, just kind of a concept of what you'd like to do. And there are some things you'll have to take care of, but you can submit a pretty preliminary project if you're interested in seeking some of that charter school money. The $600 million will go a long ways, but it'll get eaten up pretty quickly. There's, if I remember correctly, last time we had over $1.5 billion worth of applications. So just to remember that that's coming up. It's going to get here really quickly. It may sounds like a long ways away, but it'll get here before you know it. So I wanted to make sure to highlight that today. Also, priority funding is back. And so we'll be going back to a 2-step apportionment process. For the last few years, we've been allocating funds from general fund appropriation, which is cash on hand. And so we're able to give direct apportionments as soon as they're approved by the state allocation board. For those of you that have been around for a while, you'll remember prior to that, for many, many years, we had priority funding, which is a 2-step process. Every month we take approvals and they get what's called an unfunded approval that essentially carves out program authority for that project. And then they are apportioned, given cash twice per year when we have bond sales. Those typically occur in the spring and the fall. Usually somewhere around April. Sometimes it's March, sometimes it's May, but typically April, and then typically September or October in the fall. So we're going to be going back to that again, as I said, as soon as we're done with the general fund appropriation we have left, with which we anticipate to happen at the February meeting. We'll keep you informed on exactly where that line is going to be, but it's a moving target. I mean, frankly, it moves by the hour as we're processing applications. So we see many applications that reduce, and we see many applications that end up qualifying for more than they thought they would. So as we get closer to that number and as we zero in on it, we'll try to keep you as abreast of that as we can, just because I know it's on everybody's mind, and it's something that we're tracking very carefully. So we'll share as much information on that as we can as we proceed towards that. And then the last thing I had, just a reminder again that Prop 2 item is in today's agenda. Please look at it carefully. There are, I believe, there's 10 issues in it that we highlighted, we think are the biggest priority. We also have a kind of a rough schedule of what our stakeholder meetings will look like next year. It'll be dependent on how they go, how efficient they are, how we can get through the subjects. Some of them might go very quickly. Some of them might require more meetings. But the most important thing is that we're getting as much feedback as possible. We want to make sure that these programs are successful and that they're implemented in a way that's the most fair for everyone. So please plan to participate in those, come out to them. If you have input even prior to the meetings, please feel free to submit that to our office. You can send it to me directly. You can send it to any of our staff. The more information we can get from you, the better, as far as I'm concerned. So please make it a point to do that, especially if you're feeling strongly about something that we've recommended, or if you think you have a really good idea of how it could work. We're very interested to hear that. I think that's about it. The details of all the subjects will come out. I don't really have a lot for you today on that, but we do kind of have an outline of what we think we should proceed with first. It's really the things that will attach to some of the projects we have to fund immediately, like the health and safety projects. We have to get things in place for those kinds of projects. A lot of this stuff will have a natural delay because of the way the workload list works. We're processing applications from a couple years ago right now. So there will be some waiting time for some applications, but not all of them. So we need to move quickly. So looking forward to all that collaboration. So I could take any questions.
But so historically, or at least for the last several years, we've seen about $1.5 billion annually in apportionments.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So we've seen historically over the last several years, we've seen about $1.5 billion per year in apportionments. And so I know that's typically controlled by the Department of Finance, but what is OPSC planning for as far as your workload, and what do you anticipate, or are you anticipating how much per year we would be apportioned?
Yeah, we plan at this point, we haven't heard otherwise, to continue that same pace. That's what we're staffed for, and that's what we're able to do. This year, we're going to be extra busy with all the implementation going on, but we don't plan to change the amount that we're processing each year. So it'll be 1.5 billion still until something else changes that. There's nothing that I'm aware of right now, so it'll be continuing that pace. Anyone else? Okay.
Seeing none. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I want to reiterate what John was mentioning about engagement. So all of us have the opportunity to engage with OPSC as we develop the regulations associated with Prop 2. Largely, the state program has remained intact, but there are going to be some very important and meaningful components that have yet to be developed. So engage, get involved. Participate in these outreach events and opportunities to work with OPSC to make this program the best it can be, so it works for all of us. So, thank you. I will check here. Maybe there was a question in the chat. It said so. Maybe Brian, you can answer this. Is with inflation on construction, how many fewer applications are estimated to not be approved with $1.5 billion apportionment? Maybe I'll answer that for you. That's hard to tell. I mean, every project is unique in and of itself. Every project has its own costs that you work with OPSC to determine. So it's really hard to determine the number of projects that $1.5 billion will represent per year. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. We have on our workload list, you'll see the values that it's representative of what's been requested. But again, when we process those applications, that changes all the time. It's like a rule that it changes, I'd say. I mean, it's hardly ever that we see an application that goes through exactly as it's requested. There's usually some changes. And so there's that aspect. And then also we have in January, we'll have our annual construction cost index adjustment, and that'll change our grants. And so depending on what happens with that, that could affect the number of projects. We have a rough idea of how many we can process, but it's going to be plus or minus tens of millions.
Yeah.
So
got it. So thank you. Thank you, Brian. Okay, so with that, I think we'll move on in our agenda. So I don't see any other questions, and we have our state regulatory updates. So I think we're going to start with Rebecca from the cash staff. Will talk to us most likely about the great success of Prop 2. So I'll turn it over to Rebecca.
Thank you, Alan. Congratulations to Alan and to the rest of our membership on the success and the victory of Proposition 2. It's also a little distracting here in the room. If you're not with us and you're here virtually, you're missing out on the treat that is the construction of the new Capitol building. So for those of us that have any interest at all in facilities, I think that's most of us, this is a real treat. So, sorry you missed it. We're in a really cool location today. Watching that construction elevator go up and down. All right. But yes, we're so excited about the passage of Proposition 2. My colleague Nancy will talk in a few minutes about implementation and some of the collaboration with OPSC. We do want to recognize the work that has gone into that item today that the State Allocation Board will be looking at. Thank you to Brian and your team. It looks really great. We're excited to be partners with you as we move forward in implementing Proposition 2. So more on that in a minute. Results on Proposition 2 were this close to being final. So counties are certifying their election results on December 5th. And so as it stands today, we are at 58.7% yes votes for Proposition 2, a wonderful outcome. 8.8 million voters in California said yes to our $10 billion school bond. So it's very exciting. 2.6 million more voters said yes than no. So we're in a really amazing position to implement Proposition 2. I want to thank everybody, all of our members who helped with this effort. Those that passed board resolutions, those that did the work in your communities of educating voters about Proposition 2 and about the link between Proposition 2 and your local bonds. That work helped us get across the finish line and really succeed in making the case to voters. So we thank you for your partnership and your collaboration. Without the support of school districts and our other partners, we would not be able to be as successful as we were with Prop 2. So we just want to recognize your efforts and your success. We know that California voters make choices, right? So not everything that you saw on the ballot on Election Day passed. There were 4 measures out of the 10 statewide ballot measures that voters rejected and 6 that they approved. So we know that they're intelligent. We know that they make choices. They are looking at each item and making a choice about each one individually. The water bond Proposition 4 also did pass. So there's going to be a lot of activity in our public infrastructure space. As far as local bonds go, we also want to congratulate those of you who passed a local bond, and you'll be continuing that good work in your community and that symbiotic relationship between Prop 2, the state school bond, and your local bond. I know that everyone is eager to get the results of all of those local bond elections, and that is something that CASH does prepare for our members. We will be finalizing that document after the election is certified. So look for that in the next, coming weeks. You can find that on the CASH website. You need to log in as a member, and then you can find it on the resource tab there for our CASH members. Preliminary results are showing that about 73% of local bonds are passing. That is worth $45.5 billion. So just think about what that will do to help schools and communities all across the state of California. It will be really transformational. There are also a number of bonds, and the reason that we wait until the election is certified is because there are those that are right on the cusp of passage. And so we want to make sure that we've got accurate information to provide to folks in our school facilities community. And especially with some of the new processes that we have in California, now that everyone is essentially a vote by mail voter, there are now new processes to help cure ballots that may have an anomaly. So if you had a signature that doesn't match the signature that's on the voter file, or maybe an address that doesn't match the voter file, there's an opportunity now for voters to make those corrections so that their vote can be counted. And as a result of that, some of the activity that's surrounding curing of ballots on other races could potentially impact the outcome of local bond measures as well. So as every vote is counted, and as we know, it takes a while in California to count all of those votes, we just want to be very careful about ensuring that we're capturing every last vote and doing the math on every one of those bonds in your local communities. So check back in the next week or two, and feel free to reach out if you're looking for that and you're not able to access it. Quickly, one other thing that we've been made aware of here on your cash advocacy team is an issue related to the Civic Center Act. So this is the act that allows community groups to utilize your school facilities for their own community purposes, and specifically the ability to charge a direct cost fee for the use of those facilities. So as of January 1, 2025, the authorization to charge a fee that's related to the capital costs, so that's maintenance, repair, restoration, refurbishment, that piece is sunsetting. The piece that allows you to charge for operational expenses, those are things like staffing, utilities, supplies, that provision remains in effect. It does not sunset. But the piece of the fee that's directly related to capital costs expires on January 1 of 2025. Now we're exploring this a little bit more, looking at why that sunset may have occurred, exploring other policy options, but I am hopeful that if this is something that will affect your school district and you're concerned about it, it would be wonderful to hear from you. So feel free to reach out to myself or to my colleague Nancy and help share how that might impact your school district. And with that, I'm going to pass the baton to my colleague Nancy. And again, just want to congratulate everyone in our community on the victory of Proposition 2.
Thank you, Rebecca. Are we still morning? Good morning, everyone. Nancy Chaitis Espinosa, another one of your cash advocates. Let's stay with the theme of Prop 2, but move to implementation. Thank you, Brian, for the update from the OPSC perspective. I'll try not to be duplicative and just add a little bit with respect to Prop 2 implementation. So today, I want to say at 3 o'clock, the SAB is going to be considering OPSC's package of recommendations to begin the implementation work for Proposition 2. It is a package of policies that are generally meant to bridge between now and the finalization of the regulations that will implement Prop 2. They are prioritizing continuity. They want districts to be able to continue to approve applications, and they want their work in processing those applications to continue. So that's really the purpose of that package of policies. They aren't really substantive. They're more procedural, generally speaking. The other thing that is in that item is a timeline, a rough timeline, as Brian said, for the rest of that implementation work. So there are 5 groups, and they have somewhere between 1 to maybe 5 different topics that they're each assigned. They have a staggered start time starting in January of 2025. And they would meet approximately 3 times. And as Brian said, if they need to have additional meetings, they'll do that. But generally speaking, the timeline tries to begin the work in January of 2025 and to bring recommendations to the State Allocation Board for regulations around August of next year. So we appreciate that. Given the amount of work that has to be done, that's a pretty tight timeline. And some of those groups have multiple very meaty topics. We also noted that the way that the work is sequenced, OPSC is recommending that they do begin earlier with some of those topics that are probably going to require a lot of discussion and input. So things like the 5-year school facilities master plan, for example, is one of the topics that will be undertaken by one of the groups that begins the earliest. So we appreciate that. The timeline is not exact. There are not meeting dates on it yet. There are 6-week windows. So once the SAB approves that approach, we expect OPSC would then begin to start scheduling those meetings. And you will, of course, hear from all of us about those opportunities for engagement. We have heard already from OPSC that hearing from CASH members has informed even this item today. The policies that they are bringing to the SAB and the timeline for implementation. So we know that they value your contributions, and obviously the representation is really important. So you will be hearing from us, and we'll be encouraging you all to lend your voice to that process. The item before the SAB today, I think Brian mentioned, includes kind of 10 topic areas, which covers most but not all of the implementation work. The last one is sort of a catch-all of here are a few things that aren't sort of programmed in and scheduled in. But some of them are a little bit more substantive. But generally speaking, the goal is to really bridge and say, look, right now for applications submitted after October 31st, we'd like you to include in your Form 5004 the full scope of your project. We don't want the board to change it later. And if you do want to change your scope, you're going to have to withdraw and resubmit your form. Depending on sort of the program, the new aspect of Prop 2, things like facility master plans, elements that are going to require new regulations. The proposal today does include things like letting us know when those things might be due. So like app processing time, for example. And OPSC has indicated that they will be reaching out, say 60 days in advance of that so that you have time. You should not be surprised by any of these new requirements, and they'll be communicating along the way. So with that, I am going to end on Prop 2 and transition to another thing that's going on across the street from us today. Yesterday, the legislature held its organizational session. This is the first day that the new legislature met. If you are familiar with the first day of school, then you completely understand the vibes that we saw yesterday. That's essentially what it was. Lots of, organizational work and introducing oneself to their new colleagues. It included the swearing in of approximately 30% new members, which is kind of a typical turnover now we are seeing in the legislature every couple of years. But that number includes a handful of legislators who are switching from one house to the other. We even have a couple of Congress members who had been legislators before and are coming back to the state legislature. And believe it or not, there is already one vacancy. There was a kind of an odd case where somebody was permitted to run for 2 offices at the same time. So he chose the other one. And there is already one vacancy in the new class. So there will be a special election there. Congratulations to the state Senate for achieving 50% gender parity for the first time in state history. So for the first time, we have 50% women in the state Senate. That's a neat milestone. And other sort of organizational work, not the pro tem and the speaker, but the other leadership positions, we do anticipate that those will shuffle. In fact, the leaders said as much on the floor yesterday. So in January, if not sooner, we will see some of those positions move around, and we expect the same with the committee appointments, committee chairs and vice chairs. One notable one for us is the Senate Education Committee will need a new chair because the incumbent was defeated. So that's one that we will be keeping an eye out for. A total of 128 bills were introduced yesterday, the first day of the legislative session. So they definitely hit the ground running. One bright spot for the lobbyists here in Sacramento is that the bill loads were reduced. So typically we'd have to deal with about 5,000 bills in the session, and that's going to be down to a mere 4,200 in this session. So that's a bright spot over the 2-year legislative session. The way they achieved that is the Assembly voted to reduce their bill loads from 50 to 35 and the Senate from 40 to 35. So much appreciated. Christmas came early for the lobbyists. Let's see, a couple other topics. You may have heard about a special session related to anticipated litigation with the federal government. They also convened concurrent with the regular session, a special session that was narrowly focused on allocating resources to the State Department of Justice in anticipation of litigation with the new administration at the federal level. And lastly, the legislature did all of that yesterday, and then they recessed and they went back to their districts or back into their offices to prepare for the next year. They actually begin in earnest January 6th of the coming year. That's for both houses. We love it when they agree. And that also means that for cash staff, we are busy scheduling meet and greets with all of these new members and providing them with an overview of school facilities, which in the past has been a really great investment of our time. Oftentimes, these folks become state allocation board members, and obviously they're all going to be voting on legislation that affects the work that you all do. So we look forward to beginning that work. And that is all I have, Alan. I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Ian.
Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning still. Thank you, Nancy and Rebecca. I'm going to speak under the Maintenance Network banner here. I wanted to draw your attention to a report that was put out by the California State Auditor's Office, and essentially it is focused on school maintenance. It was released on November 19th, and I think we posted it on the 20th. So there's just a little bit of an article, but you can get the full report and the one pager on it if you want to dive a little bit deeper. But I would suggest to you a couple of things on the front end. One, it's called the Custodial Staffing and Cleanliness Standards study, but I would say it's quite a bit deeper than that. So it gets into issues like the history of the Williams lawsuit, some of the and how some of the Williams requirements went into the LCFF, the good repair standard, and so on. So it's a pretty deep dive. I'm not going to summarize the whole thing. It's a thick piece of research, but I would say it presents challenges and opportunities. I would say the opportunities is it makes a very good argument for why state funding for maintenance is inadequate, and actually makes a recommendation to the legislature to approve a new funding stream for maintenance. If you remember, the deferred maintenance program from a long time ago used to get about $250 million in the budget per year. So they didn't give any kind of facts and figures about it, but they make I think, powerful argument for why funding is inadequate for maintenance. The other piece, maybe at a higher level, I think, is they make and refer to the connection between school facilities and maintenance practices and teaching and learning and academic performance. That's nothing new to cash folks, but to see it in the state auditor's report, I thought it piqued my interest a little bit. You don't always see that, and they did it with some authority. It wasn't just kind of, in my view, kind of a throwaway. So we think those are all good things we can work with. There are some challenges. Basically, what the substance of the auditor's report is, they went out and inspected themselves, not a paper review, an actual review of folks' SARC and FIT reports. And we would just say, from a county office perspective, doesn't shine the best light on the county office role in that. And so those are some of the things we're looking at as well. But this is all to say, I wouldn't normally recommend that you read a state auditor's report unless you were, really wanted to go to sleep. But this one, I would say, not only for maintenance, but for school facilities in general, is a pretty substantive piece. And so I recommend it to you. I know that the cash board and the cash committees will be diving deeper into that to see its policy impact, as well as its possible legislative and political impact. So thank you very much. And there'll be more on that. Thank you, Alan. Oh, federal. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Just a quick one on the cash federal network. Not anything real new. As we know, new administration is getting their sea legs there in terms of building capacity to govern. And so actually, we're going to take a small group next week to go out there and meet with Treasury and others. But we thought because we have a lot of organization going on over there, we're going to delay that trip until the administration is in working order, and then we'll go out there and follow all the dogs and cats that we always do. The Treasury Department, some of the direct pay pieces, and all that, and we'll see what is still viable and what may be changed. So. It's nothing right now, but keep your ears open. There will be more in the first part of the year. Thanks, Alan.
Great. Thank you, Rebecca, Nancy, Ian, for the great update. Looking here, I don't know, doesn't look like we have any questions online. So I think we'll move right on to our next topic here, which is our School Energy Coalition. So we'll bring Nancy back up to talk about School Energy Coalition.
Thank you, Alan. Not much of an update today. I really just want to invite folks to our December 16th meeting that is coming up, where we're going to lay out all of our plans for the next year, including our advocacy priorities. So you are all kindly welcome. And that is all I have for the SEC update today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Nancy. Our next update was going to be federal, but Ian just did that. So we just get an update about that lobbying trip that's been pushed out until the new federal administration gets in place, and then we have the right people to talk to. So that'll be interesting. So the more information will be out, and highly encourage you, if you have the opportunity, to make that trip to Washington, D.C. and really represent the needs of our state with the new administration. So we'll move on, and we'll talk a little bit now about our 46th annual conference in Palm Springs. So we'll bring Tom Pace, our vice chair, up to talk about that.
I will make my update fairly quick, but we do have some things to report out. Today is National Roof Over Your Head Day. I mentioned that because Prop 2 is symbolically the roof over our financial roof over our organization and schools throughout California. And on National Roof Over Your Head Day, you should give thanks for what the basic necessities that you've been provided in life. It's also a reminder of those who lack the basic necessities, and we have many of those throughout California. Our 46th annual conference is February 24th through the 26th in Palm Springs. I'm going to highlight February 23rd, and you may want to know why we're going to highlight February 23rd. Two important things are going to occur on February 23rd. One is the golf tournament that we are putting on, which is going to be at the Westin Rancho Mirage. And if you would like to play, you can look at the website. We are also throwing a mixer, or a cash bash, I think is what we are affectionately calling it, that night from 5 to 7 p.m. There are still sponsorship and exhibitor opportunities. Contact Greg Golick if you still would like a booth or sponsorship opportunities. And with that, I think that concludes my update.
Yeah, I want to thank Tom Pace and the entire planning committee that's been very involved in really working for the entire last year and making this, again, as we always say, the best conference ever. So thank you, Tom, and everyone that's been working hard on our annual conference. So moving on, as we wrap up the agenda, talk a little bit about the job exchange, so People's Choice. As a cash member, this is an opportunity that you have to really post your needs out there, whether these are staffing needs that you have, or you have an RFP where you're looking for some of our professional consultants or folks that work in our industry. Take advantage of this. This is an opportunity for you to put something out there and get a wider audience and more eyeballs on your needs. So if you also happen to be looking for work, or you're somebody that's looking for a job, this is an opportunity to look and see what's available out there. So take advantage of that. Our next cash day is yet to be determined, so we're still leaving it as TBD. But in closing, I wanted to take a moment and really recognize a few different things. Recognize the passage of Prop 2, and although I am jumping ahead a little bit, and it hasn't been fully certified, the numbers are there, and we're gonna that proposition is gonna pass. And it couldn't be done without a coalition of folks that really engage. And I want to take a moment and thank our partners, the larger ones like CTA, the Community College League of California, AXA, CBIA, and really most importantly, your folks here in Cache, right? Folks like Nancy Charas Espinosa, Ian Padilla, Rebecca Colleen, that really put huge amounts of hours into bringing this initiative forward, and it really could not have been done without the work of those folks. So I want to personally thank those folks, thank our coalition, thank everybody that got involved to bring this $8.5 billion to our K-12 schools. Fantastic thing. We're celebrating. We'll be moving forward as we begin to implement this. I'll say it again, engage, get involved in those stakeholder opportunities, make sure that you're a part of that process as we make the program even better moving forward. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here today, for being part of our monthly membership meeting today. And just encourage you all to be safe, be kind, and have a wonderful and happy holiday. Thank you.